You are standing in a corridor that smells like floor wax, stale cigarettes, and fear. The hallway stretches ahead of you, gray concrete walls, flickering fluorescent light. The click of your own footsteps echoes back at you, and somewhere, someone is already writing that down. You have just entered Normannenstraße 22, East Berlin, 1975, the headquarters of the Stasi. And here is the thing that no one tells you when you walk through these doors for the first time. You are not here to fight enemies of the state. You are the thing that people are terrified of. In a nation of 16 million people, the organization you are joining employs over 97,000 full-time officers. It runs a secret army of nearly 180,000 civilian informants. That means roughly 1 in every 50 adult East Germans is actively spying on their neighbors, their colleagues, their own families. They will leave behind 39 million index cards, 39 million records of private conversations, secret thoughts, bedroom whispers. And your job, the career you are about to build, is to fill every single one of them. This is the complete anatomy of a Stasi officer's career. From the moment you are chosen, to the day the walls come down and you are left tearing your own files apart with bleeding hands. Level 1. Kandidat. You never applied for this job. This job found you. The process begins in your teenage years, in the ranks of the Freie Deutsche Jugend, the Free German Youth. You raised your fist at the right meetings. You reported the right classmates. You demonstrated, without being told to, that your loyalty to Marxist-Leninist principles is not a performance. It is a reflex. Someone noticed. Before you know you are being considered, the Stasi conducts a background investigation so deep it reaches back to your grandparents. Did your grandfather have ties to the West? Does your cousin listen to Western radio broadcasts? Is there a relative, anyone, anywhere, with connections to the other side of the wall? If yes, you are done. Permanently. If clean, you are sent to a place that officially does not exist. The Juristische Hochschule Potsdam-Eiche, the Academy of Law. It appears nowhere in the Jeter's official university registry. It is a ghost institution, a training facility for secret police disguised as an academic campus. Here, your transformation begins. You do not study law to defend the innocent. You study it to dismantle enemies. Your curriculum covers operational psychology, counterinsurgency, and the management of informant networks. You write dissertations with titles like The Planning of Political Operative Work in the Ministry for State Security. And the psychological cost is immediate. You cannot tell your friends where you study. You cannot tell your family. You are trained, from your very first week, to look at everyone around you as a potential threat. Your parents, your childhood friends, even the other students in your own cohort are possible liabilities. The paranoia is not a side effect of the job. It is the job. When you graduate, you are issued a rank, a desk, and a simple foundational instruction that will govern the next 40 years of your life. Trust no one. Document everything. Level 2. Unterleutnant. Your first posting is not in the grand corridors of East Berlin. It is a cramped district office in a gray provincial town. A Christiansstelle, a regional outpost, where you spend your days doing work that is almost impossibly unglamorous. You intercept mail. You log phone calls. You read letters written by mothers to their sons, searching for the specific tone the ministry has labeled hostile negative sentiment. But it is here, in this smoke-filled room in a forgotten town, that you encounter one of the most bizarre operational tools in the history of modern intelligence, the Geruchsgang survey, the smell jar. Here is how it works. You summon a suspected dissident to your office. You ask them routine administrative questions about a minor matter, a travel permit, a residency form. While they sit across from you, a specialized yellow cloth is draped over their chair. Their nervous sweat, their body heat, their scent seep into the fabric. When they leave, you put on latex gloves. You lift the yellow cloth with metal tweezers. You place it inside a sterilized glass jar. You seal the lid. You label it, the target's name, the date, the designation GK, Geruchskonserve. That jar goes onto a shelf. Hundreds of jars, thousands of jars. Long metal shelves lined with the bottled fear of East German citizens who had no idea what they had just contributed to. If a dissident flyer appears on the street, if subversive graffiti is found on a wall, trained dogs will sniff the flyer and then move down that shelf of jars until they find a match. You have just archived a human being's body odor as evidence of potential treason. This is the Stasi at its most banal, its most insidious, the bureaucratization of paranoia so complete, so normalized, that even fear has a filing system. And this is only the beginning. Level 3. Lieutenant. Promotion to lieutenant marks the moment your career fundamentally changes. You are no longer collecting data. You are now destroying lives, quietly, politely, with paperwork. Your primary duty as a lieutenant is the recruitment of inoffiziell Mitarbeiter, informal collaborators, informants. Here is how you recruit one. You identify a target, a university professor, a factory foreman, a lonely housewife with a daughter who wants to study medicine. You pull their preliminary file, and you search for leverage, an affair, a drinking problem, a Western magazine found in their apartment during a routine search, a relative who tried to cross the border. You arrange a meeting, a calf backroom, a borrowed apartment. You sit down across from a human being, and you offer them a simple transaction. Sign this piece of paper. Report on your colleagues, your friends, your spouse. In return, we make your problem disappear. Most people sign. When they do, they are given a code name. They are no longer a human being with a history and a conscience. They are a registered asset in a dual index card system so deliberately complex it would take decades to fully untangle. The F-16 card holds the true identity, real name, address, date of birth. The F-22 card holds the operational details and the code name. Neither links directly to the other. Only a registration number, known to you and your superiors, bridges the two. You are now managing human beings, the way a bank manages accounts. Consider what this system produced in practice. The British journalist Timothy Garton Ash lived in East Berlin in the 1970s to research the divided city. His Stasi file, eventually opened after reunification, revealed that multiple people in his social circle, friends, colleagues, romantic partners, had been recruited as informants reporting on his every conversation, his intellectual encounters, even his private relationships. The officer coordinating this web of betrayal was a lieutenant. He synthesized years of intimate human betrayal into a buff-colored binder. Ash was not a person in those pages. He was an operational object. This is the Faustian bargain of the lieutenant. You trade your humanity for your career advancement. You learn to read a human being for leverage the way a mechanic reads an engine for weakness. And the worst part? You are very good at it. Level 4. Major. By the time you reach the rank of Major, the Stasi has evolved. The crude, visible terror of the Stalinist era, mass arrests, public executions, the blunt instrument of physical brutality, has become politically embarrassing on the international stage. The ministry needs something more sophisticated, more deniable. In January 1976, Minister Erich Mielke issues Directive No. 176. It formalizes a methodology so insidious, so psychologically precise, that its victims often ended up in psychiatric wards, unable to explain what had been done to them. The directive calls it Zersetzung. Decomposition. As a major, you are its architect. Here is how a Zersetzung campaign works. Stage 1. You profile the target exhaustively. Medical records, school reports, intercepted correspondence. You are not looking for crimes. You are looking for vulnerabilities, an insecurity, a relationship fracture, a fear. You are mapping the exact shape of a human psyche, so you can methodically dismantle it. Stage 2. You make your presence felt. Your men follow the target openly. They stop and search them aggressively, repeatedly, in public. They visit the target's workplace, not to arrest them, but simply to ensure their employer knows they are under investigation. The goal is not evidence. The goal is a specific psychological state, chronic, ambient, dread. Stage 3. Your operatives enter the target's home while they are out. They do not steal anything obvious. They do not leave visible damage. They move the furniture slightly, just enough that the target is certain something has changed, but not enough to prove it to anyone else. They rearrange sock drawers. They set the alarm clock for 2 hours early. They take all the coffee. They slash bicycle tires. They make small purchases under the target's name. They spread precise, plausible rumors of infidelity to the target's friends and employers. The objective is not to destroy the target's reputation. The objective is to make the target destroy themselves by questioning their own sanity. The writer Jürgen Fuchs, a central target of Zersetzung in East Germany, later described the experience as an assault on the human soul. He was eventually forced out of the country. Years later, he died of a rare form of leukemia. He and other victims alongside him believed the Stasi had deliberately exposed them to weaponized X-ray radiation during interrogations. Whether or not that is true, the fact that it is entirely plausible tells you everything you need to know about what it meant to be targeted by a Stasi major. The deepest horror of Zersetzung is this. It works behind a perfect facade of social normality. You attend your child's school play on Friday. On Saturday, you authorize the systematic psychological destruction of a human being. On Sunday, you go to church. Timothy Garton Ash, decades after reunification, sat down in a comfortable living room with Major Klaus Risse, the man who had coordinated his surveillance. He described meeting an intelligent, fundamentally decent man. That is not a contradiction. That is the entire point. The Stasi did not recruit monsters. It manufactured them, one small moral compromise at a time. Level 5. Oberstleutnant. At the rank of lieutenant colonel, you leave domestic surveillance behind. You now operate within the Hauptverwaltung Aufklärung, the VA, the Stasi's legendary foreign intelligence arm. And you are running the ministry's most psychologically devastating foreign intelligence program, the Romeo operation. Here is the mechanism. The HIVA needs intelligence from inside West German government ministries, from NATO contractors, from the Bundesnachrichtendienst, West Germany's own intelligence service. Placing an undercover agent in those positions is extraordinarily difficult, but someone is already there. A secretary, a personal assistant, a woman who has access to classified documents, who works inside the building every day, and who goes home alone each night. You profile her with the same precision you once used on domestic dissidents. Her romantic preferences, her hobbies, her loneliness, her specific emotional vulnerabilities. Then you dispatch a Romeo, a trained, charismatic male Stasi agent equipped with a fabricated identity designed specifically, forensically, to be that woman's ideal partner. He meets her. He courts her. He makes her feel, perhaps for the first time in years, genuinely loved. Eventually, he asks her a small favor. The case of Gabriele Gast is the clearest illustration of where this ends. In 1968, Gast was a student visiting East Germany. She was targeted, seduced, and recruited by a Romeo named Karl-Heinz Schneider. Under his guidance, she applied for a position at the Bund, West Germany's intelligence service. She didn't just get the job. She rose to become the deputy chief of the Bund's Soviet bloc political branch. For decades, she funneled the highest level of West German intelligence back to East Berlin. She never accepted payment. She spied entirely out of love, and later, out of ideological convictions so deeply implanted she could no longer distinguish where the manipulation ended and her own beliefs began. At your rank, human beings are not people. They are access points. Level 6. The Fall. The fortress that took 40 years to build collapsed in a single autumn. In 1989, as the Berlin Wall fell and the said regime crumbled beneath the weight of mass protests it could no longer contain, the Stasi turned its apparatus inward, not to suppress the rebellion, but to erase itself. Across the country, from the smallest district outposts to the central headquarters at Normannenstraße, the shredding machines ran day and night. The machines broke. They overheated. They jammed under the sheer volume of guilt. And so the officers, the unterleutnants, the majors, the colonels, sat on the floor and tore the documents apart with their hands. They stuffed the fragments into 16,000 burlap sacks. On January 15, 1990, citizens stormed the Normannenstraße headquarters. They pushed past the guards. They seized the archive. The watchers had been overthrown by the watched. What those citizens found, and what the reunified German government would spend the next 30 years trying to reconstruct, was a monument to obsession. 39 million index cards. The destroyed remnants of millions more files. A record of a society so comprehensively surveilled that the archive itself became a form of proof, not just of crimes committed, but of an entire system built on the industrialization of human betrayal. The reconstruction effort fell to a team of archivists who became known, with quiet reverence, as the Puzzle Women. Working by hand, piece by piece, they began reassembling the torn fragments from those 16,000 sacks. By the mid-2000s, digital tools from the Fraunhofer Institute were introduced to scan and algorithmically match fragments. As of today, roughly 500 bags, representing approximately 1.5 million pages, have been reconstructed. At the current pace, the manual process alone would take hundreds of years to complete. Level 7. The Closing. The fates of the officers were, ultimately, unimpressive. Some faced trial. Most faced nothing. Marcus Wolf, the general who perfected the Romeo program, who ran 6,000 agents inside West Germany, who toppled a chancellor, was convicted of treason and served no jail time. Erich Mielke, the minister who had overseen 30 years of psychological warfare against his own citizens, was imprisoned. Not for the directive that authorized Zersetzung. Not for the border guards he ordered to shoot at their own people. For the murders of 2 police officers he had committed in 1931, as a young man. Before the Stasi even existed, many officers formed social clubs. They gathered in East Berlin pubs and expressed a deep, specific grief, not for the people they had destroyed, but for the system they had lost. The status, the power, the ordered world in which they had mattered. They called it nostalgia for the East. Meanwhile, Miriam Weber, the 16-year-old girl imprisoned for printing dissident posters, emerged from interrogation and years of state persecution with this summary of the experience. When I got out of prison, I was basically no longer human. The career of a Stasi officer was, at its core, a complete and methodical transaction, your humanity, exchanged for institutional power. Piece by piece, rank by rank, one signed informant contract at a time, you built an empire of paper. And in the end, you tore it apart with your own bleeding hands, knowing it would never be enough to make any of it disappear.